Hey, thanks so much for being with us here this week as we take a good long look at the single state question on your primary ballot next month. Depending on who you believe, State Question 832 would either take a long-needed step towards helping Oklahomans earn a living wage, or it would speed up inflation and add to the already skyrocketing cost of living that so many of us feel. So 832 specifically would raise the minimum wage over the next few years from where it is now, $7.25, to $15 an hour in 2029. And then after that, the minimum wage would continue to increase to match the rate of inflation. And joining us today, Amber England, a spokesperson for the Yes on 832 campaign, and Adam Maxey, VP of Government Affairs at the State Chamber of Commerce, an organization that opposes the passage of 832. Thanks so much, both of you, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Amber.
Amber, I want to start with you because
Sure.
you're the one asking to change how we're doing here. So why do we need to increase the minimum wage?
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, it's the people of Oklahoma that's asking for this change. They collected over 180,000 signatures to put this on the ballot in June or in the summer of 2024.
It's been a while.
So this is a measure coming from the people of Oklahoma. I'm honored to be the spokesperson for such an important state question. The reason why is pretty simple. The minimum wage has not increased since 2009. And since that time, the cost of everything has gone up: gas, groceries, housing, you name it. And so that buying power that low-wage worker has simply lost power. So actually, these folks have had a pay decrease because of the skyrocketing costs of everything. And so we just think it's time to raise the minimum wage. It would help about 350,000 Oklahomans and 200,000 children whose parents would get a pay raise from passage of State Question 832.
All right, Adam, let me go to you and your response. You guys are in opposition here. Mm-hmm. It's been 17 years since minimum wage was raised to 2009. I read that this is the longest time that it hasn't been increased at the federal level. Why not raise it now?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's been since 2009, but the market has adapted since then, and employers are paying much higher than that in order to get the talent they need, that reliable talent that's going to come to work every day. And the market has spoken and said, $10, $12, $15 an hour is what it's going to take.
You're saying employers are already
paying above that, yeah. And I think so. Just to be clear on that front, employers are paying above that now in lots of instances. And then the escalator at the end, when tied to that subset index from the Department of Labor, the cost of everything is going to continue to go up. Those inputs are going to be passed on to consumers, and those gas, groceries, and medicines that people are already struggling to afford are going to continue to get more expensive.
Why is it, if I could just follow up,
Sure.
Why is it unfair, that escalator, as you say, tying it to the rate of inflation starting in 2030? Some people might look at that and say, well, doesn't that make sense? Shouldn't we match if we're raising it? Shouldn't it stay with that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument, but I would push back and say that escalator and the cities it measures don't look like Oklahoma. The CPIW measures cities like New York and San Francisco and large urban areas across the country, and to put that formula and the inflation and the costs that are experienced in those cities on top of all of Oklahoma City barely looks like some of those cities, much less rural Oklahoma.
Well, it's funny that he brings up Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City is actually in the formula for the CPI. The state legislature currently uses a similar inflation measure index to actually give tax credits to businesses who are paying a specific wage. And so we think it is an important way to make certain that the minimum wage keeps its buying power over time, because when costs go up, so should wages. And we shouldn't be waiting on politicians for another 17 years. If we're waiting on the legislature to do anything when it comes to the minimum wage, we'll be waiting. They haven't done that in 17 years. And the only reason Oklahoma politicians didn't do it 17 years ago. It was the federal minimum wage that actually increased. So I can't tell you the last time the Oklahoma legislature actually touched this issue. It doesn't matter if it was Democrats in charge or Republicans in charge. Nobody at that Capitol has been willing to look at this.
Amber, we can talk more about the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and matching it going forward, because I know that is a key part of this state question that maybe a lot of voters don't realize is going to be on the ballot and included in this. But something that Adam said, the fact that many employers have already, they are paying more than $7.25 an hour, and that is true. There's a very small percentage of Oklahomans that make that $7.25, and I believe only about a quarter of Oklahomans are at or below $15 an hour.
Yeah, a quarter of Oklahoma workers. So it's about 350,000 Oklahoma workers that are below the $15 an hour range. So if you think about...
So are they already responding, you think, to the point that they need to, these employers?
Well, there are 350,000 Oklahomans that are still making below $15 an hour. So I would say those employers certainly haven't responded. They're making less than $15 an hour now, and so they would get a pay raise as a result. And so I think that is a really important point. Yes, the number of folks who are making actually $7.25 an hour may be smaller, but the actual subset of workers who are going to get a pay raise once this is fully implemented in 2029, that number is pretty significant. And you think about 350,000 Oklahomans, and what we know is that right now there's a massive wage gap between urban and rural voters in Oklahoma, and this shrinks that completely. It also makes certain that we can pump $1 billion into our economy every year, because when low-wage workers get a pay raise, they don't just stock it away on Wall Street, they spend it on main streets in Oklahoma. So those businesses will see an increase in foot traffic at restaurants and in retail. And so they're able to really withstand those that labor cost, because they're actually seeing increases in their bottom line, because those low wage workers are coming in and actually spending money that they haven't been able to before.
Well, let me ask Adam about that, because I think that some people do complain, and they see that, there is the rich are getting richer and the poor are still struggling, and that gap is widening, not just in Oklahoma. I mean, that's around the country. In many places, that's around the world. So how do you respond to some of these, the things that Amber is saying?
Yeah, well, she made the point that they're going to spend that money because prices are going to go up. They're going to have to spend more of what they've earned to keep up with the prices that are going to get passed on to consumers because of the inflationary nature.
Do you think that
of the
this will raise costs?
This will raise costs on goods, on services, on everything that those consumers with more money in their pocket potentially will have to spend it on. There won't be any saving. There won't be paying down debt. That money go right back out the door on goods and services they need.
Costs are already going up. Inflation's already happening. We are used to now every couple months we get an email from one of our subscription services saying that they're raising the cost of this or that. Yeah. We go to get gas. Everybody knows what we're talking about here. So shouldn't businesses look out and try to raise the wages that their employees can earn? Is there anything wrong with that?
No, nothing at all. And lots of businesses do. The businesses we represent do, and they're looking for ways to get the workforce they need, to pay the wages it takes to keep them, to get them the training they need to advance. But I think what you see is that when those costs, in Oklahoma, one of the most affordable places in the country, we would be importing costs from places that are not as affordable as we are and playing catch up with the coasts who are already way more expensive. That's why people are coming here.
We've seen states around us that actually have increased their minimum wage. Places like Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas. These places have relatively low costs of living that are similar to Oklahoma.
Are they all at $15 an hour by now?
They're on their way. So if they're not, I think Nebraska may already be there. If they're not, they're on their way, and so is Missouri. I think Arkansas is at $12 an hour. But my point is that when they raised their minimum wage, we didn't see the cost going up related just to the minimum wage. As you pointed out, rightfully so, prices are already going up. The cost of gas, groceries, housing has continued to go up. But the minimum wage has stayed the same since 2009. And so I would say, if employers are already paying this, and if costs are already going up, why are people like the State Chamber and the Oklahoma Council for Public Affairs, why are they fighting this so much? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. We can see places right around us that have done this, and we haven't seen these massive job losses. We haven't seen the cost of everything going up in these states.
Adam, is that true?
Which part true here? I think how I respond to that is to say that it's the long-term effects of the index. 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're looking at things that are out of our control. You look at the war in Iran right now. Inflation last month was higher than it's been in a long time. Those sorts of factors that Oklahoma has insulated itself from at times when possible we're not as insulated from that anymore. And it's the long-term effects of being tied to that index that, we have estimates that say this could be upwards of $30 by 2045. It's continually growing and going and going.
We just got a couple of minutes left. Amber, what do you think is going to happen on Election Day with this? And what are you hearing from people as you go around and you talk?
Yeah, well, first of all, people are just like, absolutely, sign me up. They think it's crazy that the minimum wage in Oklahoma has been stuck for 17 years, and they understand that prices are going up. So they believe it's a common sense policy. I think that Oklahomans want to vote yes on this issue. It's important to know that the governor put us on a ballot that he believed that we would fail. And so I think it's going to be a very, very close election night, and every vote's going to matter, and everyone needs to show up to vote. But I do believe that Oklahomans are going to stand up and do the right thing and provide a wage raise to their friends, families, and neighbors.
And Adam, I want to ask you the same question. When you are talking to people about this, what are you hearing, and what do you think is going to make the difference on election night?
Yeah, I think we hear from small business owners in main streets who are worried on how they're going to make ends meet. Should these costs continue to go up, they want to keep the employees they have. They don't want to cut back on those opportunities for folks, and they want to make sure they can continue to be those pillars of their community and employ as many people as they possibly can and can sustain, and they're worried this would get in the way of that. I think on election night, Oklahomans are going to say, we want to protect our affordability. You see all of the campaigns for governor talking about it. The electorate is talking about affordability, and they want to make sure that Oklahoma maintains our low cost of living. And she's right, it's going to be an extremely close election. But I think the people are going to step up and say this isn't right for us.
Well, you've seen the ads right here on KOCO, I'm sure, and there's been a lot of debate and talk, and I just appreciate both of you coming out here and just kind of putting your side on the table. We really appreciate it.